See, we're men. We like to rush. You know, we just like to just do it. But women, they don't like to just do it. You gotta buy them a car first.
I believe we said $20.
Yeah. Just kidding. Really, I never said that.
What's up, guys? It's me, Noah. This is CabbageTalks, and today I'm going to be talking about Season 2 of Boy Meets World. If you don't know about this show, it's about a boy named Corey Matthew. In this season, he's 13 years old, and he's fresh in high school, and he's trying to deal with the issues that come with entering a new environment and going through puberty and stuff like that. So first I'm going to talk about the characters and what's going on with them in this season. Corey, he cares a lot more about what people think, and he sort of gets sucked into the world of high school, and this kind of happens to both Corey and Sean in this season. They kind of get, and I'll go into that a bit later. Sean, he's kind of a womanizer in this season, and that drives several of the plot lines, especially in an episode like The Beard. And this is kind of the first episode where I consider Sean to be screwing Corey over. He does it in this episode, The Beard, where basically Sean likes two girls, and he can't choose between them, so he asks Corey to go out with one of them to keep her safe. So Corey ends up really liking the girl, actually, and she likes him a lot, but he feels guilty and all that, and his only mistake in this episode is not telling Sean, just being straight up and telling his friend, hey, I like her, and, you know, she likes me and all that. But overall, this episode was kind of frustrating in that way, like, for that reason. Sean screwing Corey over is also present in the episode Turnaround, where there's a turnaround dance where the girls ask the guys. Corey wants to be asked by a cool girl, and he's asked out by a nerdy, I guess, uncool girl. Sean has the bright idea to make her cooler by, dressing her up and making her look real nice and all that. So they do that, and Corey's satisfied with that. But Sean wants to go even further, to change her complete attitude, change her personality, everything. So they do that, and Corey ends up getting dumped by her because she's too cool for him now. And he gets dumped twice, actually, in the same episode. Another example of this is in I Am Not A Crook, where Sean wants Corey to run for class president. Corey agrees, and he gets pretty excited about it. And he wants to run the pretenses of, I think it's loyalty, honesty, and there was something else. There were three things. But it was basically like to be honest and to be a man of the people. Sean says, no, screw all that. You're gonna say all these outrageous things, so they'll vote for you. Corey goes along with it. Of course, Corey ends up going too far in his own way. That was partly Corey's fault, because he went along with it and all that, but still, it was kind of, it started with Sean. And when I say all this isn't me bashing Sean at all. I think he's an interesting character, and I think he has his place in the show for sure. It's just interesting to see how many times Sean messes stuff up, because he's kind of a screw up. But Corey is too. As far as the family goes, the parents' dynamic was great. I love their dynamic. They just have a really nice thing going. I don't know. It's very funny, and it's good. Morgan only actually appeared in less than half of the episode, so you really didn't see much of her. Eric is much more well-rounded in this season, partly due to the fact that we actually see him in school. Things between Corey and Topanga really heat up in this season, but not to the point of them being in a relationship or anything like that, but it's kind of like, okay, there's obviously more here. Also, Topanga is only in about half the episodes as well in this season. Mr. Feeney, he hasn't changed much, but he's now the principal of the high school they're all in. This kind of puts him in an interesting spot. He wasn't really that stickler kind of guy, but he kind of is in this, because you kind of have Mr. Turner take the place of Feeney, sort of, because he's trying to teach them lessons, but then you have Feeney on top of that. So it's a very interesting, and I gotta say, I really love the dynamic between Mr. Turner and Mr. Feeney. I really like that, and Mr. Turner is a very interesting character, and it really adds a lot to the show. You could just have any old teacher, but having Mr. Feeney versus Mr. Turner, and sometimes they're working together in a way, sometimes they're so it's very just, I love their dynamic. I think one of my favorite episodes in this season was Danger Boy. This episode was funny in some ways, and it was kind of like you see Eric kind of screwing Corey over in this one. I just, like I said, I really like the interaction between Mr. Turner and Mr. Feeney, but also the interaction between Feeney and Corey was really great. Especially, I mean, in about the second half or so, the interaction between them, and they're like relating, and it's just wow. It's really it's great, and it was just great seeing Feeney take things kind of personally. In this episode, he's kind of vulnerable in a way. He relates to Corey in a way. That kind of vulnerability with Mr. Feeney we haven't really seen. So as far as plot lines go, many of the plot lines revolved around high school things like girls and popularity. Corey and Sean seem like they're like together more. Like a lot of the plot lines are them in situations. And heavier topics were actually they seemed like they were more at the end of the season. Things I liked. This season was overall funnier, and Mr. Turner is a good character, and he makes a great addition to the array of characters that they have on here. Things I disliked. Corey and Sean becoming more like high school students. While they're still much like their season 1 selves, they definitely change in a lot of ways. They're overall a bit dumber in some ways. And obviously they're focused more on girls, which is fine and all that. But overall, it just seems like they kind of morph into a high schooler mold. And it makes sense. It's their first year in high school. So I completely get it. But personally for me, that happening is something that I don't like as much. But it makes sense for the story. So I'm not saying that I don't like that it happened. I'm just saying I don't like that as a thing, like as a concept. Final thoughts. The second season of a show is always one that has to be at least on par with the first, it seems like. With the second season of Boy Meets World, they do a pretty good job of creating relatable topics to teenagers. But while this season was funnier and lighter than the first, Corey and Sean definitely changed as characters. They changed from students in high school, or students in school, to high school students, which is exemplary of their adapting to the high school environment and just changing themselves through puberty and all these other things that are going on. Personally, I hope that they can find themselves a little more over time and be themselves regardless of the environment they're in. But it's their first year in high school, so what do you expect? So now I want to talk about the finale really quickly. The last 2 episodes, Career Day and Home, are basically 2 parts of the same thing, where you have Sean's mom running off with their trailer and his dad going after her. Without spoiling anything that happens, it's just very interesting because obviously we see the family, they go through problems. They have a lot of problems and issues. And to see this come to center stage is interesting, especially since this episode addresses life paths again. This whole life paths thing is comparable to season 1's The Fugitive. And they address this in Home, for sure, where Sean is, well, Home and Career Day, where Sean is really trying to figure out, like, okay, like, who am I? Like, who am I going to be? Is it up to me? Is it up to the people around me? He's going to be faced with these decisions constantly because the environment he's in is not very, isn't the same as Corey's. And they're 2 different people. So that's my review on Season 2 of Boy Meets World. I would give this season a 7.5. I enjoyed it very much. It was very funny, and it had some great moments. This has been Noah on Cabbage Talks. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Scream no, no, run off the bus and they would just stay in me. I love how rain fills the potholes. Me and my sailboat, that's what we played in.
Just kidding. Really, I never said that.